It was an average day in the foggy swamp. Aang and Katara had recently perfected the swamp bender's style of waterbending, and Sokka was still struggling to figure out swamp skiing. Meanwhile, I learned a valuable lesson. Oftentimes, we need to spend time away from our loved ones to really assess ourselves. However, we would not have much time. We needed to leave the swamp. Not because we wanted to, although Sokka was getting tired of the swamp guys, but because we were forced to thanks to Azula. You see, it was an average day in the foggy swamp. Aang and Katara were showing off their new waterbending style when a hawk showed up with a letter for Aang. It read as follows: Dear Aang, by the time you read this, my life will be at its end. The Fire Nation is closing in, and I find life unbearable. The Fire Princess has just captured me and forced me to write this note, as Omashu has now been conquered, and I have been taken hostage. The princess wants you to come in 3 days to discuss the terms of my release. I hope you understand, old friend. With all due respect, Bumi. At this, Aang loaded up Appa and said, Listen, guys, we can't stay here anymore. We have to help Bumi. Who? I asked, not having a full grasp of the situation, and Katara explained, He's an old friend of Aang, so this is really important to him. Even though it's probably a trap, said Sokka. Eventually, we arrived in Omashu to talk to Azula. When we initially met her, Aang demanded, Release Bumi! Oh, Avatar, said Azula obnoxiously, you know nothing comes without a price, so what's yours? Asked Aang, ignoring my protests. Oh, it's simple, Azula explained. Your friend King Bumi's life will be traded. Then Azula clapped her hands with an executioner, coming out, with a wooden chopping block in one hand and a large battle axe in the other. For yours, Azula finished. At this, Mai brought out a huge platter. Is this the platter you wanted to bring the Avatar's head back to your father on? Of course it is, Azula barked. Now, we just have to wait for the Avatar himself to forfeit his life, so we can. At this, Aang walked up to Azula and her friends and said, I accept your terms. I forfeit my life. At this, the executioner forced Aang's neck onto a chopping block, raised his axe, and almost instantly, Uncle Iroh jumped up from the Omashu delivery system and blasted the executioner with lightning, sending him plummeting into the street below, where could be heard a faint noise and a faint cry of My cabbages! Then he jumped up to the box Bumi was in and used some fire to weld it open wide enough for Bumi to get out and join the fight before Azula abruptly called for reinforcements. But this proved to be of little issue to us. After a long fight and a lot of collateral damage, we headed up to the front gate to regroup. I only have one question, said Sokka. Isn't it just awfully convenient that Aang was about to be killed when you just happened to show up? Indeed, Uncle Iroh explained. It is our sworn duty to serve the Avatar as best we can. So seeing his life was in jeopardy was a perfect opportunity to do so. Okay, said a still confused Sokka. I'm officially the last to know, seeing as we didn't know anything. Uncle Iroh explained that he and Bumi are both part of the Order of the White Lotus, a secret organization dedicated to serving the Avatar, which Sokka deemed something that they're going to have to rely on a lot in the future. Before we left, though, Uncle Iroh said, If you ever need any of us, just show our members this pie show in Zuko's pouch.